In case you thought the idea of Donald Trump being a fascist was just hyperbole, military police are occupying Portland and literally snatching people off the street, kidnapping them off the street in unmarked vehicles. Now, let me show you a clip here. This is apparently happening all over the city at night. Here's one shared here by Qasim Rashid for Congress. Portland, Oregon. Unmarked and unidentified federal enforcement officers are bypassing local police, arresting people, and taking them in unmarked vans to reportedly undisclosed locations. This Trump tactic is horrific and unconstitutional. Are we great yet? So watch this video.
What are you doing? Use your words. What are you doing? Use your words. What are you doing?
I haven't done anything wrong.
Use your words. What is going on?
We need to know.
Who are you?
Why are you taking
NLG will get you out. What's your name? Tell us your name.
What's your name?
Okay, you're fine. We'll get you out.
Bro, what? Alright,
We got you, friend.
we got you.
Oh, fuck.
NLT.
You just violated their rights.
Oh. Kidnapping people.
You just violated their rights.
Thanks for keeping.
So, what the hell's going on? Now, I have some details that may go into what is going on here, but upon first look, they're not responding to questions. They're not saying who they are. They're not saying why they're taking this man. They're just taking them, putting them in an unmarked vehicle, and driving off. This should freak you out. Regardless of your ideology, regardless of who you vote for, this should freak you out. Another example here of them walking down a street in Portland and just harassing people.
Get up, get up, get up. Get up. Get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up.
You guys good?
So here you have a military force occupying the streets of Portland, scaring people off. Now, there's some great reporting on this from Oregon Public Broadcasting. So this is a longer piece. Again, I link to all sources below the video in the description box, but let me read just a bit of it here. Officers from the U.S. Marshals Special Operations Group and Customs and Border Protection's BORTAC have been sent to Portland to protect federal property during the recent protests against racism and police brutality. But interviews conducted by OPB show officers are also detaining people on Portland streets who aren't near federal property, nor is it clear that all of the people being arrested have engaged in criminal activity. Demonstrators like O'Shea and Pettibone said they think they were targeted by federal officers for simply wearing black clothing in the area of the demonstration. So, as you saw in that first clip, they just snatched that guy up who was just standing there. He had his hands up, wasn't engaging in anything, just wearing black clothing, had a mask on, and they took him away not saying anything. Not saying why they were doing it, not identifying themselves, and putting him in an unmarked vehicle. O'Shea said he ran when he saw people wearing camouflage jump out of an unmarked vehicle. He said he hid when a second unmarked van pursued him. So let me give you a little more detail on how they've been doing this. Blinded by his hat in an unmarked minivan full of armed people dressed in camouflage and body armor who hadn't identified themselves, Pettibone said he was driven around downtown before being unloaded inside a building. He wouldn't learn until after his release that he had been inside the federal courthouse. Quote, "It was basically a process of facing many walls and corners as they patted me down and took my picture and rummaged through my belongings," Pettibone said. One of them said, "This is a whole lot of nothing." Pettibone said he was put into a cell. Soon after, 2 officers came in to read him his Miranda rights. They didn't tell him why he was being arrested. He said they asked him if he wanted to waive his rights and answer some questions, but Pettibone declined and said he wanted a lawyer. The interview was terminated, and about 90 minutes later, he was released. He said he did not receive any paperwork, citation, or record of his arrest. Quote, I just happened to be wearing black on a sidewalk in downtown Portland at the time, and that apparently is grounds for detaining me. And by the way, they said they have no record. So in a statement, U.S. Marshals Service declined to comment on the practice of using unmarked vehicles, but said their officers had not arrested Pettibone. So they're declining to even recognize, or not even declining, they're outright saying they did not arrest Pettibone, even though he has this whole story. I believe there's video of it, but he was taken into custody. He described his whole experience, and they're saying, oh no, we never did that. Likely because they had no actual legal grounds to take him. So now their only course of action is to deny. This is unbelievable. This should freak you out. Now, Joe Walsh here, a former congressman, a conservative, tweeted out, I'm a conservative because I fear government overreach. I fear abuse of government power, especially when it comes from the federal government. What's happening here in Portland should scare all of us. We must demand answers. So I'm not doing this to give Joe Walsh credit. He deserves no credit. But I'm showing this to show you, regardless of your ideology, this should scare you. If this was happening in some Latin American country, you know the U.S. would use it as a reason to go in and invade. Yet it's happening on your streets. Now, there was a response here from from Chad Wolf, acting Homeland Security Secretary. Here's what he said.
I offered DHS support to help them locally address the situation that's going on in Portland, and their only response was, please pack up and go home. And that's just not going to happen on my watch. So we need to make sure that we're supporting our law enforcement officers here and making sure that they're going to continue to protect the federal courthouse here. That's what the DHS does. That's our mission. We're not going to abdicate our mission, our responsibilities. However, whatever the local leadership here is telling us, we're going to do our job. We're going to do it professionally, but we're not going to have these violent anarchists who show up about the same time every night for a series of hours and having that federal destruction to property.
All right, so a number of things here. First, you saw in the video, there was no federal destruction to property. This man was just taken off the street. The other story of Pettibone in that piece, just taken off the street. And on top of all that, as he says, they were told from leaders in Portland, they were told to leave the city. They were told to leave, yet they stayed, and they continued to kidnap people. Isn't that a military occupation? It's not the responsibility of the military to occupy the streets. This is, I don't know how many ways I can say this. This should freak you out. This is the Donald Trump America. This is fascism. That's what this is. This is the beginning of it. Maria here tweeted out this image. My friend just sent me this pic that's across the Portland Bureau of Transportation. Wonder what it's for. Yeah. This is how it starts. And this is why Donald Trump is a unique threat.